Hi, Nitin. I think you can hear us. I hope you can hear us. Confirm that, please, to Michael on your internal messaging system. Please confirm that to Michael if you're online. Thank you. You're not? Okay. How are you doing, sir? So I think Andrew is away. He's going to be away, I understand. And Nitin is sick. We can start. Sweet deal. So a couple of quick things that I wanted to briefly mention was this Sublime that Michael was talking about. And so I'm going to open up maybe a sample file here. Let us look at this. And this is just a sample text file. And you look at this big data, right? A vagrant. The talk we'll briefly discuss vagrant today also. So what I'm going to do is show you a multi-line edit scenario. So I'm selecting the word vagrant, and it is chosen. It's showing up in two lines, line number 5 and line number 9, right? So what I can do is select this multiple cursor. See the multiple cursor going, and I can call it, make a deliberate typo here, call it XYZ, something like that. And I can undo. And that was a multi-line selection. You can also do multiple line selections by pressing the command and then roll out a arrow like this, and then tab. So you have a multi-selected cursor. And you can also select a word like big data, for example, and press Control D, 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 all occurrences, captures all occurrences, and then make it small data, if you like, something like that. So it's very powerful in that sense, lets you experiment with what you want. So there are shortcut keys. In fact, this is the selling point that sold me on this one thing that sold me on, because I write occasionally. And so to be able to write in technical documentation specifically to help people in anything that we write is the tool that I use. This one is pretty darn good. So having talked about this, the next thing that comes to mind is, how does Michael Hartle, the Ruby book writer, write his book, and how does he actually produce it? So he uses a technique called Markdown. And I'm not sure if you know this, but this is the name of the syntax. It's very lightweight. I mean, literally so lightweight that you will find it amusing. And here's how it goes. So if you remember this HTML header 1 tag, so it goes like this. If you have header 2 tag, this is header 2. This is header 3. As simple as that. And you just constructed an HTML file. If you compile this markdown, it will produce an HTML. And this is p tag. This is p tag. As simple as that. You want to insert an image, you say image tag here, img, and just put the URL, basically HTTP to that image, URL to that image, and it puts the image in line. If you want to write some sentence and say, hello, this is Google's website, for example, you can just include this kind of simple syntax and say http://google.com, and you're done. Now what you can do is just take all this. Since I don't have an image, I'll skip this line, but I'll take this entire content and go to a browser, open my email like this, open up a new compose window, make it full screen, and type BIGB at Cloud Genius to all of you. And then I paste my markdown like this. And guess what I'm going to do now is convert this magically into HTML and send. And also convert back, edit, and write some code here. So I'll say that's some Ruby line. I just wrote a Ruby line, and I'll go back. See how beautiful and simple it is? This is called Markdown here, like here. And so it is open source plugin available here. And it works in Chrome and Firefox and Safari and Thunderbolt and many other places apparently. But at least this plugin is available right here, open source on GitHub. Try it out, see how it looks like. So try it out in this side, on this window, in this left half. What you see is in the right half, automatically getting converted with very lightweight, extremely lightweight syntax. Not much, but creates beautiful looking documents just like that. I mean, as simple as saying, say, I want to write Python, and it will bring up Python color coding and all that good stuff. Just like that. You saw it happening live. So this is tremendously useful. It works with a bunch of different web properties, including Google, Microsoft, and a whole host. So if you have internal sites that you need to maintain documentation on, or I know you do, so otherwise how will you communicate and collaborate? So you potentially use this.
It's now you display the generated content. Did it show the HTML content?
Yeah. So I'll go back to my email box. In my inbox, I'll go back to my regular Markdown, and then toggle again to HTML, and toggle again, and toggle again, and toggle. You want to see the actual markup?
Yeah.
Okay. So you can do that in a different fashion. What I will do is there is another open source tool called NVAlt, and in there I'll open up something. So I'll just say hello class, and in that I'm going to say the same paste, right? And here I can just preview in, say, toggle preview window. There it is, and you can view source. That's what you wanted to get, right?
Yeah.
So you got it. And toggle the preview. Very simple, tremendously useful for me, and I hope you like it.
Yeah.
It's quick, no compilation, no need, no mess. Very lightweight syntax, nothing to remember. You type along, you're done. In fact, this is how you can even write Gmail. At least in Gmail, Windows works beautifully. Write whatever you want and send. Communicate properly with whoever you're writing to. Like send them a short snippet on what piece of code they need to change. Include that in the body of the mail as opposed to making it look clumsy and difficult to read. So it's a shortcut. I find it useful, and I use it every time. Every single opportunity, I use it. In fact, all my internal documentation is written like this. You might have, if you remember, that write-up from the last time here, this one is all Markdown. So you can go and edit it. Unable to edit this time because Google is busy for some reason. There it is. So I have it back. It looks finished product. I can go back to Markdown with one toggle, edit, and come back and save. Right now I'll cancel. So that was a quick one on Markdown. Markdown here, beautiful plugin. I recommend, highly recommend using it. It is on GitHub. This guy, Adam, created it. He's looking like a monkey today for some reason. Is that Curious George? Okay, I did not know. Okay, I did not grow up in this country, but my son did, and I should have watched. I remember Pokemon. That's it. So let us talk about the thing I want to talk about, which is platform as a service, discussing Flynn, which requires us to study something else like Vagrant first. So we briefly mentioned Vagrant the last time. I want to go deeper into this and prepare ourselves for the next class to discuss and review Windows Azure. We need to be setting up our systems to get ready with Visual Studio, at least the Express edition, the free version, in order for us to prepare and actually do some meaningful exercises with Windows Azure maybe next time. So we have some lead time. So I'm giving you an alert to prepare your machines with Express, Visual Studio Express, and open up a Windows Azure free trial account Or if you have internal trial accounts or internal accounts already with Microsoft, use that, your choice. You can either get 30-day trial or use Boeing account if you have it. Do you have Boeing account already? I see. So 30-day free trial is available with Azure, and it requires us to set up some tools and SDKs and Visual Studio Express Edition and all that we plan to do next time when we meet. So please prepare your machines for that. I'll give you links and instructions to follow along if you want. Oh, the first thing that comes up is Microsoft layoffs before Microsoft Azure. Wow. I know it is bad. So here is a free trial, and they give you some free trial options and $200 to spend on Azure services. And by the way, Azure has grown to become not only a platform provider, but also a virtual machine provider. If you did not know, they provide virtual machines. And I run a VM in this cloud running Ubuntu as my chef server. So we can run any operating system we like. If you notice carefully, the branding has changed from Microsoft Windows Azure to Microsoft Azure. So they're becoming agnostic, away from Windows is the direction they're taking, because cloud is agnostic by definition. So that's for the next time. Today, I want to discuss this thing, which I briefly mentioned. So before I jump into a hands-on, I would like to give you a description of what this thing is. So a student from University of Washington a few years ago graduated and produced this open source software for Vagrant. It is now tremendously popular, deployed everywhere where developers and operators are working together to collaborate on constructing a repeatable development environment and then go from machine to machine, user to user, operator to operator, wherever across the company, and even away to other companies. What this essentially does is define the entire blueprint of what the infrastructure is and what the development environment will look like inside a file, very strictly defined as the file is called Vagrant file. That's the construct. Around that file, which is also a Ruby representation of the machine, around that file are some things that we need to install, which is this application available for download from here. And it is available on all the OSs, most of the OSs, I guess, Mac, Windows, Linux, and Red Hat, Ubuntu and Red Hat both. And this gives us a terminal command called Vagrant. When you type Vagrant, it will produce a help file as to what you can do with it, just Vagrant. And then if you have a Vagrant file already in a folder, it will bring up that Vagrant file and the machine associated with it. And machine images are available that gets automatically downloaded from the internet, from any location or any source that the Vagrant file will specify. You can, in concept, have something like a machine image, like they call it a box file, BOX, box file. It is conceptually similar to Amazon machine image, if you will. Not exactly identical, but concept is the same. You have an image ready that you can install inside your virtual box. And so a classic Vagrant file structure will contain machine description, machine source, where the image file is going to come from, what size of RAM, how many ports, what network configuration, what network mapping, internal routing, external routing, and instructions to use other configuration management software, such as a package that will get installed through Chef or a Chef recipe or a cookbook. You can use Chef as in Chef client and server, or you can use Chef solo without a server. Similarly, you can use Puppet, and Puppet configuration is also made available. Puppet you can use with Puppet Master that you might have in your corporate location, or you can use Puppet solo on its own. There are other elements such as CF Engine is available. Ansible is also now available. So they'll give you segments and modules inside that Vagrant file that you can configure and define what my machine should look like when it grows up. These machines essentially begin with what I call the embryo. And as it grows up, it takes shape of whatever you want it to become, depending on the DNA injection you put in. So you can say that I want to grow my machine up into a database server, and then you define your DNA footprint, inject that into that machine, into the embryo, and when the machine grows up, it becomes a database server. And concept is, it's not biologically accurate. That you don't inject a DNA into embryo, but I'm just making it up. I'm just to illustrate a point. You begin with a just enough OS. Did you hear me talk about this word before? JEOS. You begin with JEOS, and then you inject elements appropriately, and then it becomes a database server or an Apache server or some application-specific server, or a load balancer, or whatever machine role you want to take it on. It will take on that role. You can even install SAP, for example, or SAP HANA, and do your ERP planning on that instance. So it essentially gives you a way to build out from just enough bare bones machine and construct it as you go along on a very small scale, like your laptop, all the way to a very large scale, like a large set of cloud properties you might have. And so let us, I'll run this. Let's begin actually looking at the documentation itself to begin with. Getting started guide is really simple. The commands are these two things, essentially. Up and running, you initialize a particular type of machine. In this case, they're using a machine running Precise 32. Precise is a version of operating system. I think it's called, right now, the Trusty is the latest. This is the previous long-term supported version of Ubuntu. So that's the example they have chosen. And what this line does essentially is defines a vagrant file. And then the next line, what it'll do is bring that machine up. And so that's what I intend to do next, is to open up terminal. I have already installed Vagrant. So in this case, I'm going to open up a folder. So I'll create a folder actually. So I'll create a folder, mkdir, call it whatever, and then go inside it. And in here, I'll type this command. What this command will do is define a Vagrant file and place it locally, like this. So it says the Vagrant file is placed. You are now ready to go Vagrant up. And we can do that. And it will bring up a machine and it will start running, but it will run nothing. It will be bare bones, minimal, but it will do. So we can open up that Vagrant file itself. First of all, I want to list it, see what we have. Only one file in that folder called whatever. And inside that file, I want to examine what it contains. So here is what it contains. I'll give you a top level view first and then go deeper. So at the top level, it looks something like this. You have basically most of it is commentary. It's comments and comments and comments. Only 4 lines are operative. Not much. At the very bottom, there is an end line. And on the top, there are 3 lines, useful. So let's look at them now. So you have some mode definition and some editor set. And then you have this line called Vagrant file API version is number 2. Defining the API version for Vagrant. Then you have this line number 7, which is vagrant.configure. Vagrant file API version do config. This is Ruby code, pretty much. And inside there, it's all comments, all of it. Go scroll all the way down, and you'll find only thing you will find is comments. And that is absolutely true. I'm not finding any useful line until the end, where I find an end line, 122. So what this line does, let's go into deeper in the commentary itself to understand what they have given us. So here is one line which says, here is how you bring the box itself, line number 13. And that's the box definition that we had to begin with in our initial command that we started off with, which is get this box. And this HashiCorp is the name of that person who created this software. His name is Michael Hashimura. Is it Michael or some Hashimoto, Mitchell Hashimoto, Mitchell H, Mitchellh. So he's very popular now. He's showing up on Google search completions. This is the guy, and he created HashiCorp recently, lives in San Francisco, created this package. I follow him, and a bunch of other people follow him. But what he has is this beautiful software, and his company provides ready-made images for a variety of application types. And the flexibility is we get to choose our own image. We can construct our own machine image and put that in this line, like line number 13. We can select, I want to select my own machine image here. I can just delete this comment and put my own, and that will work. Let's scroll into the other aspects. Here it says automatic updates. You can disable if you like. You can create a port forwarding. And so essentially behind line number 23 would become something like, if you uncomment this line number 23, I'll uncomment it for now. And what it does is forward the guest port number 80 on the virtual machine out to the real machine on port number 8080. That's a port forwarding setup. You get this concept already, or you want me to go deeper? Got it? I think that's cool. So that's one element. If you happen to running some service on port number 80 inside that virtual machine, it'll expose itself locally on the local host, on this real machine, on other port. And so even if you have a local machine running some other service on the same port, you can change the port and go to that port and visit. So it's port mapping all within VirtualBox that exposes differently. So this line is easy, one line config to change it. You can specify a private network if you like line number 27. We'll define a private network, and you can create an IP address and create a static IP to that machine and define all that. Similarly, you can also create a public network if you like. You can also enable SSH forwarding agents if you like, but right now we will not do that. We don't need to. There is, as we just start off with this. The next thing is we get to create and configure a synchronized folder. So this line number 42, if you look at carefully, which is also a very interesting line, is that it synchronizes a folder called .data with a folder called vagrant_data. So if you want to share data with a real computer and with the machine inside, you can have a synchronized folder. It's a shared folder between the two machines, the virtual and the real. So you just define a line. It will do NFS mapping, which is Unix-based network file system-based mapping. So it will synchronize that way. If you happen to have a Windows box, I think it copies. I don't know what it does or what technology it uses, but it does work even in Windows. If you have a Windows folder, that folder will get exposed to a virtual machine inside, even though that virtual machine may not be Windows. So what technology would that be in Windows? I think we have to look as to whether it actually copies over or it actually created an NFS export of some sort. Because Windows does have Unix export capabilities, Unix file system export capabilities built in, starting with, I think, Windows 7. Services for Unix was a component in Windows that was put in that enables this kind of a transport of Windows file system over to a Unix system. And then we have provider-specific instructions. So provider-specific configuration here essentially means, you boot headless or not. When you boot headless, you see nothing inside VirtualBox. So the window will not open anything. It will not show you anything. You can still SSH into it. And I think when we get to starting and doing a vagrant up on that machine, maybe I should just let it run on the background. So I'll say vagrant and up here. I want to not save any changes. So I'm going to exit out first and come back to this file. On that file, I'm saying as is vagrant up, so no changes. And what this will do is start up that machine inside VirtualBox. So you will see a new machine getting created right now in this window. There it comes. So we saw a precise machine coming up, and it is running. And this is what is going on in Vagrant at this moment. And it finished that process. So the machine is actually running already. I will disable this notification. That will not bother us. There we go. So as you saw here, with a bunch of commands, what it does is it imported that base box image, the box that we got from HashiCorp. It was already cached into my local machine. I already have it on my laptop. So it did not download it from the internet. Otherwise, it will go download that box from the internet. It's about 200 MB. So the entire box image file is small, deliberately kept small because it is just the bare minimum operating system you need. And then you give it a MAC address. You check if the box is up to date, and then name it something. So I said whatever underscore default was the machine image name that got generated, cleared any previous network interfaces, assigned a NAT interface to it, put a port forwarder to that machine, and booted that VM up, and enabled some SSH access, use a private key that I already have, machine booted and ready, checking for guest additions. The guest additions seem to have been old a little bit. And so then guest additions that we have inside that virtual machine are 420. The guest additions, the virtual box expects are 4.3. So virtual box is newer a little bit, which is fine. Then it mounted a shared folder, and then it is ready. So if you open the terminal and go to whatever, the folder I got, cd whatever, here I am, I have this file called a Vagrant file, and I can just SSH to that file easy by saying Vagrant SSH. Instead of saying SSH to that file, you can just say Vagrant SSH, and it will let you in. There it is. So we are inside that precise box. And all it did was actually created this virtual machine called whatever, which doesn't even have a head. As you will notice, there is no head here. Head as in something visible, like a display card and a monitor. That's what I would call a head. This is headless. You can actually close this out. I don't need it. VirtualBox. It still runs, and I can still go back to my terminal and operate on it and saying, who are you, or who am I? And it will say you are Vagrant. And I'll say uname. It will give you I am Linux. That's what it is, Linux precise 32. So is this new to you, or is the structure construct new, or new as a concept? Is it the first time you're looking at it or heard of it before? I see. Okay. Now if I come out of it, I just say exit, and I'm back to whatever. And here I can say uname, and it is the Darwin kernel, which is my Mac. So I'm back to my Mac, and I can destroy that machine very easily. Vagrant destroy, and enter. And it will say, are you sure? And I'll say yes. And the machine is gone. And I'm done. If I check my VirtualBox again, the machine is totally gone. Like gone. It's completely disappeared from here because I killed it. I can bring it back up very easily, saying Vagrant up. And this time it will be way faster because it already cached up all the things that are needed, and it'll 80%, 90%, and it's mostly done. So it's very easy to start machines from scratch and load up whatever components we want, including our application, our layouts, our entire architecture we want for the application to get up and running. And we can now inject elements such as that. I did not complete that discussion, so I will get back to that. You can inject your chef elements here. So if you scroll down a little bit and look at, say, the commentary about chef. So there it is. There is the first line, 85, is where chef entries start. And it goes all the way through line 98. So this segment, which is kind of highlighted, the 85 through 98 segments, is the segment you would modify if you're using chef solo. And we will go into chef starting next week when the next segment starts. And so we will use this kind of framework to make use of that tool set. And we'll embed whatever we need to embed in lines number 89 through 97 and 98. and that essentially runs the recipes and cookbooks that we will specify inside that virtual machine, and then prepare that virtual machine to take on a role that we want it to take on. Like if you want to make it a database server, it will become that. If you want it to become become an application server, it will become that. You can also specify multiple machine configurations on the same vagrant file, and have one machine configure as, you know, XYZ, the other machine configured as something different. All of that can be defined succinctly and very precisely with the help of this structure called vagrant file. It also works on Windows, by the way, and that is good. That is good that it works on Windows. You can actually put to use in your company wherever you want to work on, and it works just fine on Windows. They have done a tremendous amount of work to make it happen on Windows also. Chef also comfortably works with Windows using native tools, so you don't have to have Unix-like stuff installed on Windows. It will work. Most of it is natively working on Windows already, and the company has taken help from Microsoft to make it happen. So that thing works. I don't know if it will allow you, or Boeing will allow you to install Chef on your laptops or not, but besides that, it works on Windows. That's the message I want to say. So it does. Okay, the requirements being the same. You need to have VirtualBox, which is open source, and you need to have Vagrant, which is also open source. And you install both of them, and Vagrant will put a Ruby wrapper around VirtualBox, and then you define that in this file. In this file basically defines what machine configuration, what setups, whatever else you need inside that box. And Vagrant up will bring it up. Vagrant destroy will destroy it. Vagrant re-provision will provision it. Vagrant reload will just reload the box with latest scripts. And it gives you the ready to use elements to use it with Chef Solo. And if you scroll down a little bit here, begins with line number 100 all the way through line number 122 in that segment, you see that it is enabling you to use a different method of using Chef, which is a Chef server controlling your entire fleet of machines running Chef client. So it becomes a different method. So Chef has two modes of operation, which is one is running solo on the individual machines in the cloud, and the other one is you have a central server that you manage and that controls all your infrastructure in your cloud. And you can basically tell each machine, when you grow up, when you form yourself, you take on this exact role and you configure yourself like this, that I specify in my Chef cookbooks. And then you have ask Chef to run, and then it will run and it will have your configuration ready. If tomorrow you want to change something, like I want to add more servers or scale them out, you just specify that and it scales out. If you want to shrink, you can shrink the same way. If you want the bash bug, which just came out, bash bug you may have heard of, it's called shell shock. Did you hear that name? So bash is very common. All of us use it, except in the trusty virtual machine that I gave you. We do not use bash, we use ZSH because I like it. I did not know that it has a bug or not. I just like ZSH better than this. So I don't use bash, but bash bug is common, pervasive everywhere. Most people use bash if they are using any kind of Unix system, and now we have a bug. If we are managing our entire infrastructure through some kind of an automated method, like Chef, you can introduce one line change and ask the entire pool of machines, entire fleet of your computers in the cloud to update with the updated bash, and you are patched quickly in 2 minutes, 10 minutes, whatever time frame. If you scroll up a little bit, you will find Puppet details that are available. You have also CF engine details, and you can also configure the same thing with other tools such as Ansible or Salt or Babushka or you name it. Right? So now going back to this thing. This thing gives you a demo environment for Flynn, which you probably already have internally in your company. You do, or no, you don't. Makes sense. Makes sense. But I think somebody in your company is actually experimenting with a bunch of open source tools already. I see. Okay. Okay. Under the table, probably some skunk labs, some skunk works projects going on to experiment and see what makes sense. I see. Ouch. Yeah, makes sense. Makes sense. So that means we do not have this setup. But if this is something that your company wants to do, I think that let them do what they decide. From our perspective, this is an open source tool that I think we should, try out. That's what I'm suggesting that we do. And we can do this, and it requires, guess what? A Vagrant. It gives us a Vagrant file. You saw the Vagrant file right here. So the demo package inside Flynn contains a README file, which is basically this write-up, and a Vagrant file, which is the machine itself, machine definition itself. So that's it. This is the machine definition. Not much here. You have some specific JSON file for the URL for the Vagrant box, and you pick up this base box, and you create a private network. You create a synchronized folder like this, and you configure it through not chef, but just basic shell commands, and automatically configures and creates it ready for us. So the shell commands are very trivial. Line number 16, update. 17, install Flynn host. 18 is download, and 19 is run. And then you define some variable names, and your script ends right there. This is a very short script, automatically runs it. All you have to do is clone this, and then Vagrant up. That's it. Not much. So are you in a position to install Vagrant since you already have VirtualBox? Not installed VirtualBox yet. Okay, go ahead then. And that will help us get to a point where we can spin up our base machines like this. I thought I disabled it. So VirtualBox is available from this location, from a download section. That is also okay. It may be a little stale because I see newer version here. Yeah, I have 4.3.14 I have, and this is a newer version, little bit newer. This is 4.3.16. Okay, good. So use that if you have it. And then you will also need this thing, Vagrant up, which is a download available from here. And these guys are. And did I mention about these checksums that you should validate as a formal process? That if you don't do, then it's okay to do on your laptop. But from a formal process, do you validate what you download? Okay, then let me tell you something that is, I think, important here. So I will go here and here. And the very first day I gave you a USB stick, right? I gave you trusty.ova. And I assumed that you will not question me, and you did not. You did not question me because there is de facto, you trusted the instructor to give you no virus, right? That's the assumption. But if the instructor is not face-to-face with you and gives you a link to download it from this link here, what would you do? Like, how would you validate? There is a link here for the same trusty.ova. There is a download link available here. And if that happens, how would you trust the download you got is actually accurate? Like, what if there is no man in the middle? Or what if there is no other security risk? What if the trustee.ova is not corrupt or malicious? How will you validate that? So there are methods to do that. One of them is this. Let me simulate that I'm downloading from that site. Okay. And so I have this file called trustee.ova. You see that here, which I seem to have downloaded. Assume that I downloaded, because I don't want to waste time downloading. So assume that I have downloaded it. And now what I will do is I'll check the MD5 sum for that trustee. This is a checksum verification. And it will finish in maybe a minute, maybe less. And at that moment, I will get a string that gives me a fingerprint to that image that the author must also have. He must also have. So we get the string back. This is a checksum validation on the entire trustee.ova 5.73 gigabytes. So I'll take this and ask the creator, does your checksum match with this? Let's do a comparison. So we'll ask the creator now, does your checksum match with this? So I'll ask the creator, hey, what is your MD5 checksum? And apparently it matched. See that? This line is the same thing. I'll go side by side. So hold on. Side by side, this one on one side and terminal on the other side. So you can do a comparison side by side as to what just happened. You see the string matching? So the string here matches the string here. Yeah? This is one method of validation. The other method is OpenSSL SHA-1 trustee. So another different method, different algorithm to do a SHA-1 based checksum validation. And this is a standard practice large companies already deploy. If you're not deploying, and get to it. It's a great idea to do it. Anytime you validate code from anybody who's giving you something, this is a quick way to validate that. So right now it is calculating a different type of checksum, which is SHA-1 checksum. And let's compare notes with the author, see what the author's checksum is. And the author says the author's checksum is this for SHA-1. And so let's compare what we got and what they have, matches. So it's a standard security practice when you're downloading anything on the internet or even internal sites, when you don't have the person face to face with you to check and validate what did you give me is the same thing that you meant to give me, or did I get something else? It's a fundamental question. When you don't have the person face to face, you want to ask them and verify and validate. And these are two methods. On Windows, you can also do the same thing. However, you need to install some software because this thing is not available on the built-in package. In Windows doesn't include this. So you need to download this SHA-1 checksum for Windows. It was released by GNU PG, which is pretty good privacy people. And that download is available here on these links that you can run SHA-1.exe and SHA-1sum.exe. And they also give you source code if you don't trust them. So if you don't trust GNU PG, they have given you the source code for a SHA-1 verification calculation. You build it yourself by reviewing the code first. And that's a method of, this is like establishing trust on the internet, essentially, one-on-one, 101 of how you go about establishing trust. So they're giving you a binary package, but they also gave you the source code. Get the source, compile it yourself. If you don't trust the download, read the code for any malicious parts, then you build it. And then you use whatever you built to calculate the SHA-1 checksum. That's what the GNU PG guys are saying. And this guy is actually well-known, Werner Koch, GNU PG expert, Free Software Foundation in Europe. So that's him giving us Windows-based SHA-1 checksum verification methods. And the other is MD5, which thankfully Microsoft gives us directly, but not pre-installed. So you can take it directly from Microsoft from here. They call it FCIV, like File Checksum Integrity Verifier tool. And it is available for download somewhere here, this link. And then how you run it is defined here, usage. The same concept, file, MD5 checksum this way. And you can actually specify the SHA-1 options like this, right in this tool itself. So the two options are available. You can do MD5 or SHA-1 or both. You need to download and install this, and then it will do the same thing, but on Windows, which is nice. If you're using Windows, you can quickly check checksums and verify the authenticity of the download you got, whether it is internal download, external download. Who knows what happens once you go away from your machine. You cannot control what's going on the internet. So it's a way of verifying, just another way of verifying. And that's what these guys will also do, is they give you, as you download it, like the Vagrant package that you will download, this developer will give you SHA-256 checksums for these packages here. And you can get the checksums themselves and compare whether your download you got for your Macintosh is actually the package that Michelle Hashimoto meant to give you. Now, this is probably academic in nature, but I think it's relevant from a security standpoint to know that what nobody actually does it on a day-to-day life. You would not, I would not, and that's fair, but not in a corporate setting. In a corporate setting, if you're giving something, if you're rolling something out, you need to actually verify these things when you roll out something. And that is routinely done, like across the board in any large distribution. You have to do this. This has to be done in corporate settings. There is no way around it. People do these methods. There are other sophisticated methods also that are mostly automated. It's a handshake that needs to establish before you transfer a package. And that is done by default, by design. We don't think about it on a daily basis, on an everyday basis, but it's a good practice to think and use it. So once you install this binary, it'll enable you this simple command called Vagrant. So it's Vagrant is the command, and it gives you lots of help once you type it. Give it a shot, see what happens when you do a Vagrant up, because it'll be useful once we get to a point where we can spin our own Vagrants and inject whatever thing we want to do with that machine. It gives us a very good platform to play around with machine configurations right here on your laptops. Right?
So I installed it already.
Yep. Download that package and give it a go. That'll get you up to speed on Vagrant. And we'll begin. We got corruption, I think. It's corrupt. Let's save it locally and then try that again. I think you are stuck because you cannot install these things. I know. I'm sorry. That we walked into this with that's a known issue. We cannot install it. We cannot deal with it. But you know what? If you allow me to walk to my car outside, I might have a laptop for you. Do you want that? Should I bring it? I'll do that. Give me 5. I'll be back. Yes, sir. So the command is on documentation, or maybe I'll open it for you. The command is the very first thing in getting started guide, which is just to get you started. This is it.
That only the same thing.
Hey, no, no, this is it. Can you please check with Nitin if he's able to watch on? I think he said he's going to watch, and he is seems to be watching, but I'm not sure. He said yes to our session, so he's probably watching us. But I want to make sure that he is successfully able to do that. Oh, okay, maybe. Yeah, he is home. He's sick, and he's probably on Link. There is a feature that I introduced. It's called Mark Yourself Away or Appear Away, and so that's a method of hiding. You might seen that, right? Do you see the button called Appear Away button below the green bubbles? Appear Away. Yeah. Do not disturb is like people will still might disturb you, but appear away, then you're not even there. Yes, busy. Yeah. So several years ago, we used to debate these things. This is around the aspect of presence detection, right? That's what I have a patent on. So the presence detection patent, and it goes beyond. My patent goes way broader than that, but this is just one incarnation, one implementation of the idea. And so it bubbles up in Office 365 everywhere you go. So all Word, Excel, PowerPoint, you can actually see as other people will be collaborating, editing documentation with you, or you're reading some spec and you're giving some comments to the author. The author can become visible to you in green or orange or whatever status. You can just quickly chat with them and fix, and that bubbles through link in your Word documents as you're editing or your spreadsheets or SharePoint sites. So across the board in Office 365, concept of presence is disseminated across the Active Directory through through the link server on the back end. Uh, yes. Yeah, I don't know the patent implications of that, but they don't include whether you're busy or away, or that sense is not there. You just see them editing or you don't. The status is not there. And in internal phones, there are now external also. Microsoft created some phone devices. If you have seen them or not, I don't know. No, the landline phones. Yeah, and they never came out as a product. But we had almost every desk in the office will have a desk phone with the same UI as Link on the phone itself. You can touch it and play with it. And all. That never came out as a product. Yes, Bluetooth. Yes, Bluetooth. Beautiful integration. Yes, I know. So I heard. Yes. 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 Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah, E911. So there is the law, as I was saying, you have to disclose to the customer that 911 services are not supported on talk phones and all that. But yeah, it's a drawback. It's a At least if you have a backup cell phone, then you have the emergency taken care of, which is nice. Because I remember having called 911 once in my life to save my life.
So, I don't know, I believe that we have some policies that could tell you what they are, or why. I do believe there are policies. I know that in that environment, it is called, it's a challenging environment for wildfire. You know, there are a lot of people that are running around with wildfire.
And I think it is the simple science behind it is that you have so much radiation already like we carry radiation in our pockets already, like so much of it. And you can see sometimes electronics behave differently just by the fact that you bring it closer or take it away. Have you seen that? Yeah. Just start your microwave and the Wi-Fi shuts off. Have you seen that? Not yet. Or try your Panasonic old cordless phones and your Wi-Fi goes off. If you have
Only when the frequency
frequency collisions, right? Yeah, exactly. So right, it might have happened. Things like this happen. So in our networking team back at Microsoft, too much clutter of noise. And when I say noise, I mean electronic noise. In certain buildings where networking teams are deployed, too much clutter, and you cannot even get a single test to work. And so we had to actually physically walk away from that building to get test to work and come back in the building. It's hard. Everybody and their brother is carrying their own Wi-Fi router and boosted with the full power strength. And so every office has like a network engineer sitting with bunch of routers boosted there full power with all the bands occupied, so that building 42 and building 28 are notorious. Even corporate Wi-Fi doesn't work. I guess that's how it is. That's part of life. So from Boeing perspective, I can totally see why you would do that. It is a policy that you would require because you want to make sure that you're testing thoroughly in a clean environment. And when I say clean, I mean radio clean. And that becomes important from a product perspective in the factory floor. You don't want to make a mistake, and that is critical, like life and death mistake. It's not bend gate mistake or antenna gate mistake. It's life and death critical mistake. So you cannot afford that. As a business, you cannot afford. So you will say no to Bluetooth, no to Wi-Fi, no to radio, no to cell phone in that zone. That's fair. Yeah. But then they want that to be controlled and not random, right? If you want to do fault injection, you will do it very methodically, systematically. And so random people carrying will give us no insight into what happened. And they want to cut that because the signal to noise ratio want to improve what is happening versus what is known to be a noise. And so a controlled environment is better, at least in testing. You know what's going on. So step by step, do it. Exactly. Otherwise, you have no idea. See what breaks and see if it actually breaks or not, or something else might be breaking. You don't even know. So one small step at a time, and I think that's the reason why even any factory will operate. Any, not just Boeing. Yeah. Yes, I've had the opportunity to see Boeing from outside. I'm in the Everett factory for that's my exposure. It was beautiful. Wow, you should go to see Boeing. That's funny. You should. It is beautiful. It is mind-bogglingly big. It is really mind-bogglingly big. So wow, what am I looking at? Huh? Is that possible? For employees, of course, a proper badge you can do.
It's not good to go with somebody who knows what's there and can explain it all to you. But you can just walk through that. So like, Auburn or Ferguson. Ferguson, I was last at Ferguson long ago. It was really impressive. They bring in these huge slabs of aluminum and blew away about 95% of the wind panel.
Or they build them up themselves out of carbon fiber. I was really walking through that book. I thought it would be massive, but then they were comparing it to Everest. Now, like, maybe a fifth of the size.
So
That was
periodically, they'll have family days at various sites. So Everett had one like a year ago. The kids can't do that. Well, and Redmond had one the year before. They're supposed to have one this year. They haven't had one.
oh, that was
So just periodically, just do an internal search for family days. There's a website that shows Redmond's different family days schedule. So far, Redmond. It is great.
I really want to go through the history of bike.
That's Seattle. Yeah, that is also cool. But it's for common people, not for you. It's for us. It's for common people. I said not normal, common people. Like ordinary people can walk in, pay the money, and go in. Hey, it's for us, not for you. Hey, it's not special. Ordinary people can go in. It is cool. There is a the supersonic plane. What do you call it? Starts with a C. Yeah, it's kind of sort of your like first name, your first name, Concord, not Conrad, Concord. Yeah, so that's what I'm trying to associate with you that object. So it did not match perfectly.
Either plan to spend a long time there or go back several times. You can't really do it easily in one go.
And that is also nice.
Not unless you're a real human. Are okay with spending 8 hours. Yeah. Every now and then I like watching the movies, playing on canvas. Different perspective.
Usually, they were physically, so they're not going to stand up.
Yep.
Pretty good.
Yep. So I get amazed by Boeing as a company, indeed, and that's just fascinating. Planes have been my fascination, so I get to see the Boeing Everett location was amazing. First time was amazing. I've been there multiple times, but first time was really wow.
On the inside or just taking?
Just the visitor tour. No, I cannot get inside yet.
And then they have public tours.
Yes, I've seen those, but not in the factory yet. I did not. I just showed up on whatever. There's a place to go up somewhere and watch what's going on. That's the extent of my knowledge. Even that was amazing, but
I'm so amazed by some the way they're getting I don't understand how that actually creates lift and it moves. It's so heavy and it's
Is the Chinook also Boeing object, Boeing product? Oh, Florida? Philadelphia, I see. Nice. I did not know. They look so heavy. I mean, it looks like a bulky object.
If you ever get a chance, walk in the factory, get up with the first one, with that 47 and triple. No way, 'cause it's fly.
I know.
Which tells you just how much power is in that.
Yeah, indeed, indeed. It's just admirable. And I've seen machine milling on this thing when you aluminum cut. I've seen that. But cutting a plane wing will be like a completely different experience. Like cutting these aluminum objects is one thing. Cutting a plane, yeah,
The wing panels, the wing is still there. It's basically one long piece of it from the roof to almost to the foot. They bring in the giant piece of aluminum, put it on a flat, and then the milling machine on the track up and down. Like I said,
shape, shapes it.
90% of the aluminum slab is in a thin stem that's shaped and with some integrated strength.
Yeah, aerodynamic. Wow. Yes, indeed. I know. That's how I go home. Well, eventually I changed my definition of home, but Japanese. Hmm. Outsource, outsource to the Japanese.
We're not sourcing manufacturing heavy,
Yeah,
outsource heavy, we have more, and we outsource a lot of detail design.
yeah. My brother-in-law designs seats for Boeing, the chairs that we sit on, passengers and everybody. And the seat design is special, of course. Like it's not ordinary chair like this. And so that's what he used to design. He used to be at Boeing a while ago, and then he moved to automotive chair design. That's what he did. So it's the same concept. From a structural thing, it's the same concept. Okay. Yeah. So Boeing. Oh yeah, that guy. Correct. Yep. So I guess you already did complete. Not yet. Not yet. Still running. You must have completed by now, I guess. Don't have write permissions. You have a custom Ruby, I guess, or Brew Ruby. Error while executing gem. Did you uncomment some of the chef comments? Why is it running chef? That's good. Just leave it as leave it alone. That it should be okay. You did a vagrant upright in this location, right? Yeah, that's good. So can you please come out of it and delete your vagrant file and init again, and delete the vagrant file. Delete your VirtualBox also. You don't need it anymore. And then in a folder, you want to create a folder called whatever, for example. So where are you exactly right now? What does the vagrant folder contain?
Everything that I got from the clone,
You clone what? What did you clone?
GitHub, but then I actually compiled it or I installed it.
It created a vagrant folder for you?
After I cloned it.
You cloned this?
I cloned both.
So this we are not beginning yet. We're just taking just to vagrant and see what happens. So I would suggest come out of the vagrant thing. One more out. Go to your home, and here you create a folder called whatever, for example, and go in there. And here you say vagrant init. You can go up arrow twice or thrice to bring up the previous command. One more. You have the HashiCorp thing, right? There. Enter. It'll prepare a vagrant file, and you can say vagrant up. This will basically install empty. This should be relatively faster because you have it cached.
It's significantly faster.
Yeah, you're done. So you can say vagrant SSH and enter the machine. And you did. Big deal.
Now should I run that post install?
It already ran. So the post install already runs. So you can just exit. Basically, you're done at this moment. Now you can go to the next step of loading up Flynn demo and all that, but that's the next exercise. So we just exercised our infrastructure right now. We succeeded. Now we'll add Flynn app. Flynn app is the app which will host platform as a service into the VirtualBox. We will clone Flynn and then up, vagrant up. So it will do everything else for us. When we clone Flynn, we don't need to do any vagrant in it because there is a vagrant file already in Flynn. So we'll go to that folder and say up. Yeah, it's a download. It's a 200 MB download. Will be. But I think you just succeeded. So only you are hogging the internet right now. Nobody else is, unless Conrad is also. Are you also downloading right now, or?
I got vagrant installed, but
Okay.
now this is my ignorance of Windows 8. I'm not sure how.
I'm sorry. Sorry. The easiest way to think about Windows 8.1 is to close your eyes and imagine that you have a start button and it looks like this. Right? That's how it works. And another thing, another trick with Windows is to close your eyes and just start typing. Right? Type CMD. Literally, like do this. Windows button, close your eyes, Windows button, CMD, and there it comes. So close your eyes and type. That's the best way to operate Windows 8.1.
So what am I supposed to do? So vagrant installed.
Right. So vagrant command. Now vagrant is installed, and then you run these two lines essentially. That what these lines will do is to initialize your vagrant environment. So let's go to CMD first. I'm assuming vagrant got set up correctly. So try vagrant. I think you did. Otherwise, it would have complained by now. And since it is a slow computer, it is probably thinking, so what do I do with vagrant now? Am I supposed to run it? Yes, it ran. See, it did. So now vagrant is set up. Our next logical step would be to actually get it up and running with the image. The image name is HashiCorp / precise32. So we'll init. So we'll first create a folder called whatever, go inside it. So cd whatever. Oh, sorry, mkdir whatever, md whatever in Windows. And in there, we go vagrant init. And then HashiCorp / size32 will take us to that location. It will essentially create a vagrant file locally and be done with it. So it is done. Most of it is done. Now they created a vagrant file that you can examine in your command line, which is through edit command or notepad command. You can say notepad and NOTEP. On one hand, you look like and sound like a
First
Unix.
thing I do with a Windows box is I put,
Oh man,
what's that?
Sigwin.
Sigma.
Ouch. Ouch. First thing you do is destroy Windows and put Linux there. Oh my goodness.
Oh, my dad.
I'm just kidding. So here notepad and then that file name vagrant, and that will open up the file. You will examine it, but basically do nothing. What it says is it is going to download that long big file here. This file will come from the internet down to you, and that box definition will bring it down from internet to your laptop and then boot it up. That's the one command, which is the next command, and that command is vagrant up. And that's what we will do after you close the notepad out, because you don't want to disturb it. So say vagrant up, it will start downloading that image and then boot it up. And you can see it in here. It will show up in this window, in this location pretty soon. The trick to Windows, was that my email or what? I think so. I think you're looking at my email. If I may log out, maybe it's Anita's email, I guess. So I'll just log her out. No, Stephanie's email. Lots of people. I'm going to sign them out. Stephanie, sign out. Remove these people. Stephanie is on. So signed in as Stephanie. I will exit that also, because otherwise she'll complain. Who's looking at my email? Okay, where do I sign in? And remove the user, disconnect your Google account, clear data and disconnect. And that should take care of it from a Chrome perspective. I hope it did. I think it did. Close, and we are golden. We are back to Chrome with an empty Chrome now. The machine is slow. Bear with me. And this is ugly. So you got flinting. It's complaining, huh? Ah, so what is the complaint? The bounce download is resuming for prior download progress.
Failed up there. So what we got 20 days. Then it fails here.
So let us try to clean up and try download again. And the way to clean up is to delete the file, the partial file that got downloaded. It goes and stays in home cd tilde slash vagrant.d or something like that. So it will look for, no home. There is no such HOME there. So the folder name is vagrant.d. Tab it. Maybe it is .vagrant. Yeah. So go inside and look at what we have. We have boxes. So you have to clean up the box there. See how many boxes you have? One box. Then what's the problem? You just have one box. HashiCorp. So what's your problem, dear? Exit out of here and go back to the same location where you were. You want to reset that so cd dot one time. and do a gate reset hard, gate reset dash hard. Okay, and now go to your demo and up. Hmm. Yeah, curl issue. Let me run the same thing on my machine, see what happens. I think it's busy downloading, 25%. It's a touch laptop, so you can actually play with the touch experience. If you're interested in Windows 8, yes, if you're interested in Windows 8.1, which I've hidden most of it because I hate it, but you can bring it back up if you like. I know. Actually, it never did to me. So you can play around with whatever you like. But the best way to think about the way I like is to close your eyes and just start typing. It works. I don't even want to think. Some news is coming up pretty soon. I hear some news, some update. And you know what? Here's what I think will happen. The start button will come back, and this time with a Metro look. You know what a Metro look is? The one that we're talking about, that same look, but in the start button will come back. That's what I think will happen.
I don't get it. Why do you have to go all the way to San Francisco now? Knowing that everything will
I know.
window.
You're so mad. Okay. I know exactly. You go to the enemy's land of opportunity and you go and talk about what? The button that doesn't exist? That I'm bringing it back? Oh my God. Now with a Metro look?
What did you say? What do I care about it?
Yeah. The classic question that somebody asked me a long ago. When I said, do you want to shut down your computer? They said yes. I said, okay, then click the start button. And they had a big argument with me. Why would I click the start button when I'm trying to shut it down? I would not click the start button. Give me the shutdown button. So IE has, yeah, yes. And there is a website Microsoft created. It's called the browser you hate, love to hate.com. The browser you love to hate.com is actually IE. It takes you to Microsoft IE page. It's craziness. It is not bad. It works. Most of it. I mean, almost all of it. It doesn't hurt. It doesn't hurt. It works. But the stigma that people have with IE6 and beyond, that kills everybody. And it brings me back to the same topic that I was afraid of. When Conrad first emailed me, I really suspected he's using IE. Right. So you got it up, done, right? So you can do a vagrant SSH, I guess. That'll let you in. There we are. You're in the box. You can come out of the box if you like.
Nothing.
Yeah, there's nothing. Post install script is already finished running. By the way,
No, concept wise.
I think yeah, concept I'll
How it's
yes.
related to virtual box.
Yes. So you think about VirtualBox as the infrastructure provider. It will carve out a small box out of a big box. So you have this big box here, and you carve out small boxes out of that big box. The small box can also be a little bit bigger than a small box, but not be bigger than the big box, the real box. That's the physical limitation.
Yeah.
That's what VirtualBox essentially does. It gives you a slider of multiple types to adjust the size of the machine and gives you a box. You can manipulate that box through variety of methods. The most commonly used method is your mouse. You have the VirtualBox window and you operate through that. That's the way to manipulate it. Ruby is another way of manipulating that VirtualBox. And Vagrant file is a representation of the box itself. So when you say Vagrant up, it is looking at that Vagrant file and constructing a virtual box based on what you dictate. Whatever you just told inside that Vagrant file, it says, use this much memory, use that CPU, use these many number of CPUs, and use these ports, configure it that way, create these shared folders, and run Chef or run Puppet or run whatever. All that definition is defined inside one file, the Vagrant file. And when you say Vagrant up, it will take that specification from the Vagrant file and create a virtual box. In this exercise, it will create a virtual box. There are other plugins and tools available that will create a VMware player box or any other cloud provider box based on what they provide. So let's look at what kind of providers they have. And so if you look at providers, they have a VMware provider. And they have a VirtualBox provider, they have a Docker provider, they have a Hyper-V provider, and a custom provider. So all these providers are available there. They began with VirtualBox, but the other providers like this provider for VMware is not free. You can actually buy it. For VMware Workstation, you can also do the same thing. If you happen to be a commercial customer that uses VMware, that means you have money. So he wants money from you. if you are a student and if you don't have money, you probably use VirtualBox like we are doing. And so they give you the version as free, open source. I know budgets are tight everywhere, and that's a fact of life. Just realize. So, if you want to use this in production, and since you are using VMware Player already, which I'm betting that you probably support internally, you support VMware Workstation also. Maybe, I'm betting. So if you do, you can get this supported, and then you can use it. The usage scenario here from a Boeing perspective will be something that you can produce a repeatable configuration environment that, Michael as a developer produces something, he's using Windows and, he's using Mac and you using Windows. You can create a cross transportable application environment. It doesn't even matter much what he uses or what you use or what he uses. It's irrelevant because what they are creating together, the whole team, is an application that you will provide as a service to your internal or external customers that runs a third operating system, say Ubuntu, that is available in a downloadable format like this box file that you just downloaded. And you define your code, you define your infrastructure, you put these components together, define inside a Vagrant file and your gem file and whatever apps you create, package them together, put that in a Git repository, and hand off. Essentially, what it will do is, say Michael creates application suite, and he puts that on in a Git repository in gem file and his Ruby code and a Vagrant file. He can email out all that to you with a link to clone. He doesn't even have to transfer that entire machine from here to there. He'll email you a link. Okay, go here, clone from here. And you clone the whole thing and you go Vagrant up and you're done. You have the exact same environment that he has. You replicate it identically every single time. And so you make a change here, you just say push and you go pull and you have it. You want to make something change, you go push and he goes pull and you have it. So the machine to people to people transactions of large size machines can be very streamlined. That's the use case of this software. Really useful. And you can make use of it like I'm describing, which is when you're collaborating in a large set of people collaborating on the same project. Some are dealing with infrastructure issues, some are dealing with an application development issue, and you divide your work and you consolidate your work eventually in a Git repository and collectively collaborate on a project to produce it much more rapidly without worrying about the critical problem, which is, hey, it works on my machine, what's wrong with you? Right? Not with your machine. Yeah, exactly. Right. What's wrong with you? It's not about your infrastructure being bad, it's you are bad. That's the claim, right? People tend to fight like that. You know, it works on my machine, what's wrong with you, man? That's how the comment is, typically. It's not about you. Your machine is different. Maybe it is Windows. Yeah, maybe it is not Mac, but it should work. The key is it should work. And this software set reduces that friction. Because it doesn't even matter how you set up your library, what Ruby version you have, what gems you're using, or what Python libraries you have, what pip requirements text file you have, whatever application you create, you specify it black and white in a file. You put that in Git. Now there is no question, no objection as to why your environment is any different than his. Because we all agree and we all put that in a Git repository and we clone from it and then operate on it, as opposed to I installed Ruby 2.1.3 and tomorrow you will have, I have 1.8 Ruby and what's wrong? Why is it not working? Because your Ruby is different. All that issues are gone because we are not dealing with individual, what's the word, idiosyncrasies, right? We're not dealing with people, we are dealing with machines. Let's bring a consistent development environment, consistent work environment across our team. And this tool is one of them. That there are other tools also like this, by the way. They're not open source. This is an open source tool that helps you do that. And open source is good because you can examine the code. As simple as that. You don't have to trust them. You build it yourself. You can compile the Vagrant binary yourself. And if you don't trust, then trust this developer. That's okay. They're open with that. Totally open with that. You download the source. You inspect the source. You compile it yourself if you like it. Otherwise, you don't have to use it. Simple. That's the fundamental premise behind open source is give you total transparency. You may not want that much transparency because who's going to compile all that, but you can. You can.
In the
90s, okay. So a few more minutes, I think we should be up and running. So I'll play another scenario here before we jump onto Flynn. What I want to do is in this file, we have Vagrant file here. I'm going to edit it a little bit. And I will say this machine, I want to customize it. And I'm going to open the configuration. So the configuration that I had, let's see if I have Vagrant running already. Oh, it is running. What is bugging me? Who's bugging me? Okay, now they will not bug me. So I want to destroy that Vagrant box I'll completely, like this, and say yes. And now if I examine VirtualBox, I do not have it. It's gone. Now I will back here, do that vagrant init again, initialize the file. I'll also erase that file, vagrant file completely. So it's gone. I have nothing. I'll go vagrant init again one more time. And the point I want to drive is change management. So how can we like make small little changes and provide that same consistent environment to everybody? So initialize it again, vagrant up, and we will see the file with a default memory size. It's a small machine, probably 312 or something of MB of RAM. 384 MB of RAM is what we expect to see when the machine boots up. And when it does, we'll see that. We'll see that this machine, whatever, has a RAM of 384 MB RAM defined. That's the default. Now, in our application environment for our development purposes, maybe this is too small and too little for us to successfully run our internal app that we are developing. In that case, what I want to be able to do is get back here and modify that vagrant file itself. So what I will do is edit that vagrant file and change the memory size to something like this. So to be able to edit memory, I want to open the config.vm.provider for VirtualBox and open the VB customize command. This line number 53 lets me modify the memory size. So now I'm going to say that I need 1024 MB of RAM. And I will save that customization for my memory for that machine. So the next time I generate that machine, it will be 1024 MB RAM, as simple as that. So I'll go here and say vagrant and halt. It'll halt the machine and boot it up again. So what you see now in Oracle VirtualBox is that we have more memory this time. We just got more. Oh man, this Chrome plugin I need to just delete, I guess. Too much noise. Settings, extensions. What is it called? There. Disable. And so we're able to change the machine configuration, machine size by editing vagrant file. As you saw here, it is 1024 here in this location, 1024 MB RAM in the base memory. It was 384 to begin with, but we are able to modify machine size by changing the parameter defined in VirtualBox, sorry, vagrant file itself. So the idea behind it is you make any change in the machine that you want by making edits in the vagrant file and then share that file itself. In very simple words, you can email out a vagrant file to somebody, effectively handing off a complete machine image in email. Because they can replicate the exact same thing you have because it is well defined. You can just email a vagrant file and hey, here, take a machine. In concept, you can pull it off and give a machine to somebody on email. And that's the agility it provides, is being able to share on a common environment that all of us get to work on eventually when we go back to real work, not just the classroom. The next step that I want to be able to do is to actually run Flynn. And as you probably know, in Flynn, flynn.io, the GitHub link, I want to go there and look at the demo. So they have this Flynn demo environment. And if you look at this carefully, it says this repository contains a vagrant file that boots up Flynn and then sets it up. You also need to have VirtualBox, vagrant, and one more tool. This xzutils tool needs to be installed. That's maybe what's going on, Michael. So we need to have xz tool installed, An XZ tool is available here. Through Brew? Yeah. So Brew will give you, for Windows, it is available here. So I'll install, for Windows, it is, I think, Brew. So I should have XZ already, which is Brew Info XZ, which I seem to have it. For Windows, you need to install it from here. The Windows version of XZ utilities is available. Yeah, Brew install XZ should do it. Like I did Brew Info XZ, you will do Brew install XZ. And for Windows, you have this pre-built binary that you can download from this site. The link is available from the Flynn demo environment. And from a setup perspective, there are a few steps. First thing is that these developers on Flynn have already provided us with the environment that runs Flynn inside a virtual box, because that's how they are developing also. So think of them as our virtual team away from us, wherever they are, and they have prepared the entire demonstration environment, which runs inside VirtualBox and uses Vagrant. And they have given us this Git repository, which contains everything needed to run that application, which happens to be a platform as a service, which is what we tried the last time was Heroku. This time it is Flynn. So that team, which is our counter team or other friend team, sister team, that team has prepared this Git repository and handed it off to us. So what we will do is take that link, copy it, and clone the whole thing, whatever they gave us. So we'll take that, and in that whatever that I'm running, I want to kill that machine because I don't want to waste my CPU resources. So I will do Vagrant destroy and delete that machine altogether because I don't have too much CPU. I want to conserve it. Now I'll come out of that whatever thing and delete whatever also. So whatever is gone. Now I clear, and the next thing is I want to paste this link, which is git clone and all the work that Flynn team has done for us, and clone it. This will basically grab the entire source code for Flynn and put it right here. And we have met the dependencies by installing VirtualBox, by installing Vagrant, and by installing XZ utils. And while this is going on, I'll just quickly check what's the status on Vagrant's Conrad's VirtualBox.
So the latest
Up.
You need to do
XZ. Yeah, you need to get a 64-bit
downloaded.
64-bit binary. Yeah, second one. Second. Double. So these are terminal command line based utilities. So you need to run from the command line. So put them on the path. That's what it boils down to. So, so you need to have it on Windows path.
Okay.
So I'll tell you how to do it.
I don't think like that.
Okay. So the Windows path goes through UI on the control panel. Yeah, you have to put that as an environment variable. So it's an executable that we have, and we're going to put that in wherever it is. It will work from there, that location. But the key is to set your environment variable, which happens to be in. I see. So you have to unzip it by double clicking on it. So it will probably be in downloads location. It's in your downloads location. So you put home button, literally, yeah, click home and then close your eyes and type downloads. There it is. That's where you have it. And so you want to double click and maybe right click and extract all and let it go. Extract. Fair enough. We'll move it later. So this close your eyes method always seems to work for Windows 8.1. Close your eyes and type whatever you want. It'll show up magically. So this is the $1 traffic, right?
Yeah, I was wondering if they charge $1.
They charge you $1 for the parking. Otherwise, you have to buy a monthly pass, and they'll let you pass.
Yeah,
So there is traffic too
I
much.
just want to cut through to it.
Yeah, $1 one time. Yes,
One time.
one time, $1.
They have somebody watching.
Yeah, for the exit.
That's okay.
Exit gate is the person sitting in the evenings because lots of Microsoft people want to go back home.
Yeah, that's why I was going to that was if there's traffic camera on the truck.
Yeah, you can shortcut, but you have to pay $1.
Yeah. Well, actually, I go this way, it's okay.
Yeah, coming back is a problem. In the morning, going is a problem because in the morning they collect the other fee. They check on the other side. So it's like think of an island. I think I must have told you this story already. If going to the island is free. Yeah, same idea. So after cloning that Flynn, I want to go into the demo folder, and then I am in the demo folder right there, and I see a README file and a Vagrant file, and I'll wait for Philip to show up before I hit the Vagrant up. Or maybe I should just hit, because it will download a whole boatload of things. I'll just Vagrant up and let it finish. So it is downloading a box, this time from our sister team, Flynn, and it is downloading that. While it does, I'll give a little bit more. You know it already. Yes, that's the right place. I think you need to log in as admin, so which means you cancel it out and elevate your privileges by going as an administrator. You are not. So your administrator is you, but you have to escalate the privileges. You do that by again closing your eyes, typing CMD, and this time right-clicking on the command prompt and say run as administrator and type in the password, say yes, and the password is Cloud Genius. It did not ask. So in this window, whatever you do is elevated, which means it will let you do whatever you want to do. The root password.
All right, so now I have to know how to edit that.
Okay. Makes sense. So what was the thing? Even I forget. What was that thing that how did you bring it up? The path change?
Oh, I just hit
Oh, no.
Window key and type path.
So let's do that thing again. Windows key PATH, and this time right click.
Oh, I clicked that. Maybe you want to click this.
Maybe. Yeah, it did this time. Yep. Yes, it's not really the most user-friendly environment to work on to change paths. So this thing, what we're doing is a slightly different exercise. We are doing in Flynn. We are asking our sister team Flynn to give us a link. We clone their entire repository, which you have. So you go inside Flynn, and then you go inside demo, cd demo, and in there you will find two files. One of them is the file called readme.md, and the other file is Vagrant file. So all you need to do here is Vagrant up. And that should basically pull down Flynn image and load it up and run everything and get you ready to use Flynn as the platform as a service in your VirtualBox. So we can actually then make use of it. So there's some preparatory steps. That's what we're doing right now, is asking the Flynn team to, hey, give us what you got. We'll run it here. So just so you know, the password is Cloud Genius, one word, lowercase. Just in case. It will not ask you, but if it does. Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
And each of them have different projects,
Mhm.
and we want to go with model of the past
Mhm.
platform as a service.
Mhm.
Um, do we run Vagrant individually?
No,
Or
no, no. But you can run Vagrant individually for developers, but from a if you are an enterprise, which you are, in your case, here's how I envision you: is you first experiment internally, like you're doing right now, like figure out how it works, make sure it works for you. Then you talk to your friend developer. Hey, Michael, does it work for you? And Michael, please test it out. And if it works, okay, then you have a project to discuss internally. From a rollout perspective, you will not use Vagrant. You will actually create an infrastructure
okay,
and install Flynn in your corporation. And then tell everybody in your company that, if you want to deploy applications, please come to our platform. All you need to do is a git push. And
oh, I see, I see.
all the developer needs to do is git push Flynn master, and there we go.
Okay. So, yeah, so
So
it's
this is a learning environment.
optional.
No, this is a learning environment because we don't have a big infrastructure to deal with here, but that's why we are using VirtualBox as an infrastructure provider for right now. In real life, you would actually set up something like OpenStack in a large box, or maybe a bunch of boxes. In you, how much money you got. Depending on that, you will buy infrastructure, you deploy your private cloud, and on top you have Flynn ready. You test that one thoroughly, and then invite your developers. Hey, bring it on. We'll support your application because all the application requirements you define in your gem file, you push that over to us, and we have it up and running on a URL endpoint you decide. So you will give you a URL endpoint internal, whatever .boeing.com internal, and you go use it. That would be a real life scenario. We cannot do that in class.
Okay.
We don't have machines here,
Yeah.
so we can use proxy, and that's VirtualBox. XZ is taken care of. So we
Does that seem to be from laptop or inside?
laptop. So you need to delete that virtual machine already through terminal, not this. This is just a view into what you're doing. In practice, you don't even open this window. In practice, you just deal with the command line, and through that you say Vagrant destroy, and it's gone. I think so, because now we're going on to Flynn. So we'll say Vagrant inside Conrad, not here. We want to say inside Conrad and then Vagrant destroy. It will destroy the machine. What did it just say? Vagrant is not a command. Oh, your path was wrong. Path issue. Your path is changed incorrectly.
Well, that sucks. What was it before?
I can fix it.
What I did is I took the existing path, put it in Notepad, added the user,
Ouch.
and then pasted it back. So
I know.
should
Trust you. Trust you. But this is Windows. Just deal with it. So this is the path, right? Thank goodness we have a copy. And you added the tail end, I guess. Let's examine the path. This looks okay. Looks okay to me. We have a semicolon at the end, maybe. I think the path is looking okay to me. And Vagrant is in the path. There is no reason for Vagrant to complain. Found it? What did you do?
So we need a test file.
Aha.
Start to download.
Okay. I'll put a semicolon at the end. It's the only change I'm thinking of doing right now. Other than that, I don't think you made any changes. This is what it was, I guess. I'll just save this path file somewhere on the desktop. Save as. And on the desktop, I'll call it P A T H dot txt. Close this command prompt. Start a new one. Go to Conrad. This is Vagrant. This is the struggle I have had all my life with Windows. Oh, man, this is so ridiculous. We literally did nothing to it. It's problematic. How do I digest this? This is the thing I cannot understand. Like, this is 2014. Come on, cut the crap. If you look at path variable with me, I think the path variable that is exposed to the shell is correct. Hmm. I think it's correct. However, by reverting, this it works. This is hacky. This is not proper. This is not proper. Okay, let's come back and say okay and okay and pray to the. Maybe I'm missing a prayer. No. Now it won't even take that. I have removed the path. See, my path is just like it was. So I'll do a brute force method. You know what I'm doing? Yeah, repairing it. It'll probably fix the path, I hope. This is one thing that I've never understood. And I've worked in Windows, not Windows, Microsoft for 10 years. And I feel sorry in such situations. I like not do anything. Can you? I have no idea what to say. It makes me feel really bad. It's just hard. I think we are playing a waiting game right now on this machine and that machine. And in here, we are playing a different game. I don't know what to call that game, but it. Refuse to switch to Mac? No. They hired you, right? The tech support guy. That's right.
Can't get out of it.
It was that bad VI joke I cracked. People are still using VI type. They don't know how to get out of it.
Really use that subject.
The joke or VI?
The joke.
The joke.
I already use the app. I use the app, but
Right, right. You're not that old to use VI, but I'm amazed that you use VI. Which is good. Nothing wrong with it. But yeah, as you said, Conrad said, it's muscle memory, right? You just sticks to your muscle. You don't even have to think about it. It just
Once
works.
you went into
Uh,
Max is our editor's a way of
yes. Right. It's a platform. It's Emacs as a service. Oh man.
why can't you get used for it?
Right. And when I first started a computer long ago, it was what was it called? It was not Windows, some other word processor. Word, no, even before that, Word Perfect. Wax I had like in 1990, Wax VMS, and it had VI, and it was okay. But then this some computer CPM, something like that came along. Ugly, and that hurt me. I did not understand it, and eventually then we had DOS, and I used to write terminate and stay resident assembly programs for DOS. You know what a terminate and stay resident is? You probably don't even know the terms because we don't need them. We call it different things these days, but they're memory resident programs, and you write in assembly, and you actually technically quit the program, but it stays in the memory and keeps running on interrupt calls. So you get an interrupt call, and based on the interrupt you're getting, that particular interrupt call will start executing the command instructions from that particular point, which is in memory location. This is like crude technique, but that's what we had those days. And that the interrupt will take the CPU pointer to start executing from that location and finish. And that will become an exotic application you can create off based on keyboard inputs. You press some key combo, it'll do something specific for you based on what you wrote. And that key combo will generate an interrupt that will start the TSR program, terminate and stay resident program, execute that little code, and it will feel magical because nobody else is doing it, only you. Yes, in concept, yes. Except it can be driven by any kind of interrupt, not just keyboard interrupt. So time-based, action-based, event-based interrupt. So we call these things the operating system these days. Because it stays resident and is there, and so that's the OS. And things have evolved dramatically. In fact, memory address layout randomization is a technique that you will see in modern operating systems, where you cannot even figure out what part is code and what part is data by inspection. You cannot tell. It's all randomized. You know that concept of layout randomization. So hackers cannot. Okay, nice. Yes, it is fun. And address space layout randomization, ASLR, is a technique which is used to prevent hackers from jailbreaking, for example, because now they cannot figure out what is where. Otherwise, if you know what is where, they were able to jailbreak iOS, the previous versions, by just visiting a website and invoking a particular fault that they knew as to what the vulnerability was in Safari. And through that, jailbreak the phone by visiting a site that was so bad, but Apple suffered through that, on that day when that jailbreak came out. And you visit the Apple store and you just go to that site, boom, jailbreak the phone in the store, the demo piece. And that many people did that for fun, is just go to the Apple store for fun and break the phone. That was the vulnerability. I have seen it. I've seen of reports of jailbreaking in the Apple Store, right there. As you're talking to the rep, oh, let me show you this. Boom. Ouch. But now we have newer techniques. I don't know what is it doing, but taking forever. And even this guy is taking forever. 16 more minutes.
Well, a while ago, we were going around 348 seconds. One is like less than 100K.
This is a college.
So this
We're supposed to have high-speed internet.
probably not just it, but
The other end, the other end could also be slow, possibly. But this is a college. This, we are supposed to have high-speed internet. Faster, finished. So why don't you just project and demonstrate the next steps instead of like waiting for us to finish. So maybe you project and it's picking up. It will be slow a little bit because our Wi-Fi is not the most fancy, but should project, and there it comes, I guess. I'll go and see if I need to intervene. No, picked up. So let's see what's going on here. So maybe make it a little bigger, and what you see is Flynn running. What Michael did is entered that folder, demo folder, and there inside that demo folder we had two files, which is a README file and a Vagrant file inside that location in which Michael cloned Flynn, the entire repo. And inside Flynn, there's another Flynn, I guess. Is it? Maybe not. That's so slow. Okay. So in there we have two files, README file and a Vagrant file. And in that folder, Michael has already done the step of Vagrant up, which is happening in this window. And what you saw, as you see in the red lines, the box definition was not found locally. So it went ahead, and the second red line shows the location for the box itself. And then it grabs that JSON location and then adds that box locally downloading from flynn.io, the download site, which is the line below the third red, which is the downloading link. And that link download is what most of us are doing right now, is basically grabbing that box image from from Flynn location. And once the box is downloaded locally, the next iterations or next runs of that particular Vagrant up will be very fast, because it's not going to download it over and over again. And then it's all basically rudimentary. It's setting up the machine, setting up port number 22 to map to port number 2222, which is a port forwarding. So you can go to SSH on port number 2222, and it will take port number 22. That's port mapping for 22 port. Like we saw in the other example, port number 80 mapped to 8080. Same concept here, but with 22s you can SSH. That's how Vagrant does, by the way. That's how Vagrant SSH actually works, which is a proxy to the real SSH and with a different port, number 2222. And they have a predefined private key, which actually is public now because everybody has the same key. And this private key is insecure by definition because everybody uses the same exact key that Michelle Hashimoto created several years ago. And that key is what is used in getting into this box. And you have the private key, you enter the box with that key. Now, machine booted and ready. It is looking for guest additions. Guest additions may be a little bit old or new, depending on what they have and what you have, but it will still work. And then it runs shell configuration. So command line script provider, that one. Right below that is the shell provider running. And that shell provider essentially runs the script provided inline in the Vagrant file. So you can actually examine the script itself in Vagrant file to see what it says inside that file. So if you can please open Vagrant file, it'll show you what it's supposed to be doing, and that's what it's doing here. So if you say vi vagrant file and look at the script starts from line number 15. If you make it bigger a little bit for Nitin, he can also see. And line number 15 begins with VM provision shell provisions. I think Conrad, you need to probably reboot. Is that what it says? It's auto login, so you don't have to worry about login. But the line 16, 17, 18 are basically trivial. It installs the application and runs it for you, and that's what the other window will show you as to what it does essentially. And that's what is going on right now. And so that's what you see in the green color is lots of stuff being downloaded and configured. And when that thing runs, it will have a platform as a service, pretty much like Heroku, running inside your VM for you to be able to examine, play with it, understand its capabilities, create an application, and load it on that pass. Right now, we'll do that as soon as this finishes. We'll be able to load our simple application in that pass, and we'll scale it to 3 instances, and then shrink it and see it happening, see it working. And then we go back to work, and we can potentially create the same environment, but this time on a real computer as opposed to a virtual machine. You don't run virtual machines in corporate. You will actually bring boxes and run proper machines, and so you can service your customers internally. Yeah, that would be the idea. You will follow the same steps that this thing is doing for you automatically. So you'll basically read the vagrant file and run it manually on a real box, and that box will be beefy enough to service your customer needs, and then we are golden. That's how a real life user would use it, not inside a vagrant VM. Vagrant is good for understanding, testing, experimenting, and all that good stuff, and even toying around, tinkering, and sharing. But for production deployment, you would want a bigger machine, a full-size machine to actually run it meaningfully.
So everyone could log into that.
Yep.
With their own.
Right, their own code and their own endpoints get created. So you can have, let's say, you call it Flynn deployment in Boeing. So we just finished, by the way. Michael just finished. That's awesome. Now, in here, let's say, for example, if you have a box and that call this box Flynn and give it an IP address, flynn.boeing.com. Got it? In that box, you can have developers like Michael and Philip, 2 developers, give them accounts. And what they can do is create application. The application's name would be Michael and Philip, 2 apps. And what Michael will do is, or maybe his name is going to be Silly, for example. So Michael will take the Silly app and then take silly.flynn.boeing.com, becomes the URL endpoint where the Silly app will run, right? And the idea would be for Michael to develop the Silly app and do a git push flynn.boeing.com master. Git push Flynn master. And then you get an endpoint back from Flynn that says, your Silly app is running at silly.flynn.boeing.com. And everybody internally go use the Silly app. They can do it. And they can scale it up, down, whatever you want, all in your internal hardware. And no virtual box, you don't need it at that time because you want to actually service large number of internal customers. So you can give them Silly app and they'll be happy, I hope. And at the same time, on the same box, you can have Philip develop your own Philip app that will not be Silly, I guess, or whatever you make. And then you do a git push Flynn master that will push your app and give you a new endpoint automatically. The endpoint will become philip.flynn.boeing.com. And then everybody who wants to use the Philip app will be able to just visit that URL, the endpoint, internal URL, and Enjoy.
Okay, that would be a, it would come with all of the, stuff.
Yeah, let's figure it out. Read the documentation. They'll tell you what they are doing currently, and they'll show you their roadmap of development. So the doc page for Flynn IO website will have it. Flynn.io will tell you what is supported, what is not. So they'll probably do most of the commonly used Heroku style apps already, but documentation will totally describe what is supported, what is roadmap, and they have it there. They'll not look at the roadmap; it will tell you exactly what's coming and what's there. So Flynn is not ready for production apparently. Just so you know, but it's pretty darn good enough. Flynn will be the one tool that solves ops. In fact, that's the top level value prop. If you look at if you go look at the value prop on the front page, the product that ops provides to developers. That's the claim. If you learn more, you have I think they're trying to get Heroku compatibility, which means all the whatever Heroku does, they will do it and do it for free and open source. Yes, yeah, free is awesome. I mean, open source is even better. That's what I mean by free. When I say free, I don't mean $0. I mean freedom.
Here's the code. Play with it.
Yeah, here is the freedom that you get when you use free and open source, and that's the better word of free, the four-letter word that begins with F. Yeah, yeah. Freedom comes at a great cost and it's great responsibility. It is not free. It is not. In fact, if you did not know this, Microsoft salespeople will go and sell Windows and all other tools and services against open source as a competition, and I've done it. The argument that will be used is open source is like free. It's like freedom. It's like free puppy. Yeah, that's the argument that salespeople will take. It is free like free puppy, and I think that is true. It is totally true. If you do not get what you expect to get when you're getting open source, because now you are getting a puppy. You can make a very good dog out of it. Really very good dog, very smart, well trained, well behaved. Or if you don't do it properly, you know what happens. It's a puppy. I know. Well, I think we should do the next step, which is create an app and push it. Create your silly app on the demo GitHub site. There is a sample instruction set available to create a JavaScript app, Node app that we should try. So there will be a simple silly app already on Flynn GitHub. I think that may be heavy. Yeah, I don't know. We can try that, but I would go begin with this first and then try the Ruby on Rails app. So at the demo site, go to demo. And here, there are instructions on generating a very, very small trivial app, the usage. That's one. So they're basically given you an app to use already. And so you want to use that app. We call it Flynn, Node.js Flynn example. And it's a very small application, like literally 5 lines. Taking forever to clone, but it is literally 5 lines. And so if you PD into it and see what it contains, it has this web.js is the app. And see what it has, like 5 lines. There it is. That's it. Not much. It is node application. All it does is says hello from Flynn on port number blah. That's all it does. It's a web server. The name is web.js, and all it does is says hello from Flynn on port number blah. On the other files we have are two more. One is a proc file, which basically says execute this, execute web.js. That's what the proc file's role is, to tell what to run. And then we have third file, which is dependencies. So we have the name of the program itself. We call it node example. There's a version number 001, and the engine to use node and npm, node package manager, npm. And those are elements we need in the package.json. Is very similar to gem file, is very similar to requirements.txt in Python. This coding language is JavaScript, but it doesn't even matter. The thing supports JavaScript, Ruby, Python, and PHP, and so all these languages. And what we need to do next is to just take this as an example, create it as an example. So we created that. Did we already do that? Not yet. So we have to create the app on Flynn, right? We have to go in, you're inside Vagrant. Aha. You should come out of Vagrant. You're in the Vagrant. So you should, I did not realize you're in the Vagrant box. You need to do all these steps again outside the box. Sorry, I did not notice. Better. Works. Should destroyed. So the next thing would be to clone entire Flynn, which is on website. There is an instruction on how to do that. Yes, you need to be in. Actually, you don't need to be. You need to clone it. First thing is you don't have Git.
I know I do I clone it in this directory.
No, separate one. Separate is good. Now the problem is you don't have Git. You need to install Git first. Git is available on Git is available on gitscn.com. Git-scn. And so here is Git. And so you go downloads and then download for Windows, and then you run it. Then you get Git. And then you go to Flynn and clone it. And then you up inside the demo folder. And then you'll begin this, you'll reach this point at that moment. So here, the Flynn create master is very analogous to asking Heroku to create an app for us. So this is how Philly app gets created, or this is how Philip app will get created. Is Flynn running? You need to put Flynn on tab, I think. Yeah. Yeah, it is, I think, because otherwise it will not say, it will say something else. No cluster configured. Let me go read. Go back to our. It is running in the virtual machine, as I understand, and I think if you can say Vagrant status, it will show us the status that it is running. And what we want to be able to do is connect to that virtual box that we have, which is running Flynn, and tell it to run the Flynn command to create an app. That's what we are trying, and it seems to be failing because we're unable to find the cluster configuration, which means we are missing some step in the documentation. So just enter Flynn and see what happens. Flynn enter. Here give it an app name and a command and arguments. That's the structure syntax. Read the documentation on website. And are there steps missing that we did not? For example, you have this already, you've done it probably, but that's not the issue though. You can do that, but that's not the issue that's blocking us. Did this, I think. It did not. You did. So I want to read that again. See what's going on. You can break it, Control C to expedite. So did you follow this final log line contains configuration details used to access Flynn via the command line tool?
Yeah.
Should give you this CLI. Did you download that?
I mean, this which does that.
I'm not sure. Let's go to the CLI. See what it is.
I can do that.
See what the CLI is. The Flynn CLI is the command line container for the control. I think you did it. I think you did. The usage is like this.
I just, I didn't do this step.
Yeah, maybe that's it. You're unable to find a cluster. That's the issue, right? Flynn cluster add, and let's read that page again carefully before we repeatedly run it. We have to give this. See, the final log line contains configuration details used to access via Flynn. So this command, whenever you ran, will give you the final log line, which have instructions on how to let it know what that thing is, where that cluster is. Let's examine what this L equal to blah and curl and zcat, and I think it's safe to run it again. So break it, Control C, and look for the last line, which will give us what we need, which is only the instruction we need to tell where the cluster is. The cluster is inside that VM, and it did nothing. I'm expecting a instruction says I'm expecting. Let me see on my machine, see what's going on. Yeah, I'll do that. Oh, we have one or two more minutes remaining. That was very slow. Very slow. You still have 18 minutes left.
This is an install package.
Yeah, install package. Okay. This is weight game. I hate weight games. But at least I prefer weight games over not working games. Like path not found. Unfortunately true. I know. That is unfortunately true. That becomes a disaster actually if you wait and wait and wait and then it doesn't work. I would rather want to know ahead of time, right now, tell me if it's not going to work so I can do something else. But no, I will make you wait first and then tell you that the path is not found. How about that? So I'm finishing up on 3 seconds, I guess, on that machine there. So see, it is calculating and comparing box checksums. Right now, at that very last line, you'll see calculating and comparing box checksum. It's automated. The verification of MD5 or SHA-1 checksum is automated for that box. But it's done by default, and that's just a practice that everybody needs to adopt. Most people will do it already in large enterprises, smart enterprises, I would say. In fact, about USB sticks, I have seen some USB sticks that the moment you insert them in Windows machines, they will auto run a virus application. Have you seen that? Yeah. Hmm. Right. Auto run the virus, that was bad. But they were the some of these had a certified logo also. Yeah. And also in a while ago, if you remember, Sony sold laptops with rootkit pre-installed. Do you know that? Rootkit, like backdoor. So they managed to get through Microsoft approval process and are able to sell rootkit pre-installed on their Sony Vaio laptops so that they can snoop on people who are stealing music. So this is coming straight from the manufacturer, and they're doing it for some reason, which is like snooping on piracy. But that is just bad. Just bad. Since that moment, I have never bought a Sony product. Never. I have an old TV. What just it say? Oh, Git thinks Git is not recognized. That's what it's telling you. I don't recognize Git. Windows protected your PC from running Git. You feel so warm and fuzzy. So run anyway. You know, that's what you say. Run anyway. You don't need to be so protective of me. Just go run. Oh my goodness. It's crazy. How do you educate you here? Careful to read. You have to read that. Lots of things to read here. If you're a Unix style person, you want to make it easy. If you want to quick launch or desktop shell integration, if you want, right click. So you can choose your choices you like. Yeah, advanced context menu. So create a folder. And there you go. Let's keep going. You want to start menu. Now here's another thing to read. The defaults are generally good, but good to read. They give you a bash shell, which is what you want. You want a signal, they'll give you a bash. First is good. Windows and Unix are the difference of statistic and time forward. So from my perspective, I think the takeaway from Flynn is to practice it here a little bit take it to your workplace and see if it makes sense to deploy it. If not Flink, some other DEIS or some Cloud Foundry. There are tons and tons of open source solutions. All of them are good. And Cloud Foundry is probably easy to sell internally to Boeing because it is by EMC, big name, easy to sell. You don't know who these guys are, Flynn guys or DEIS guys. They're small little copies compared to EMC, big dog. So you can take this idea that EMC is behind their new initiative called what is it called? Open some pivotal.com. No, something new came out. They came up with a new division focused entirely on open source. You're familiar with that thing from EMC? So they came up with this gopivotal.com. Is that the right link? Let me check. Yes, it is. See that? That's what I'm talking about. This is what I'm talking about. So pivotal.io. This is backed by EMC, big name, backed by GE. You use their engines, uh, and bunch of other big name companies, and all big name founders of open source software. They have put together to create this platform as a service for all of us, and it is open source, 100%. The backing is good, easy to sell in a big company. Sell as in convince internal people to agree and adopt this technology. It's a good one. We don't have a way to run it in the class, but we can, of course, use it on the cloud if you want. Your choice. I can make it happen. I can run Cloud Foundry for you if you want. This is Cloud Foundry, by the way, which is now labeled as Pivotal Pass or Pivotal CF, which is, again, Cloud Foundry, this word. And the open source is available here. And that's the location where you get Cloud Foundry, downloadable from GitHub, that you can absolutely take and inside Boeing and tell, here is a good product. Give it a shot. Your choice. I'm not selling it. It's also open source. They're all free and open source. So I'm not trying to sell you anything. I'm just giving you ideas on what might work. Yeah, so then go to GitHub, and that's where you will get maybe learn what will take you there. Yeah, it's gone. Sorry. Go to the source and try it. One of these to view the source, and that's got you cloned. So you clone from here. So take the HTTP link, copy. So not like this. Click on HTTP, and then there's a copy button up on top, which is hidden. There. Click on that button. There, it's copied. And you can, yeah, click this. Here you can get rid of Conrad folder and paste. Control Shift 3 for Windows. No? Then right click and paste. There. That will clone Git. Sorry, clone Flynn locally. And then inside this Flynn is a demo folder, which is here. That's what you will see once it's cloned. And this is the step we are doing to run the demonstration. And we'll familiarize ourselves with this tool. And boils it down to, does it make sense for Boeing to use it internally in some fashion? If not this DEIS or Cloud Foundry, Pivotal, Cloud Foundry, or God knows what, or build your own. Basically, you can go to the extent of cloning this platform as a service and then customizing it to suit what you want. Totally. Internally, you can do that. They're giving you source access, open source, modify it. And if you want help, they will charge you. But you can do it yourself if you like. If you go ask them for help, they will put you a decent bill from EMC. From any service provider that is providing open source services, will charge you something. There are certain cases where you might have a relationship already with companies like EMC where they may not charge you. Like if you have a relationship with Microsoft on a software assurance agreement, they don't charge you for other services occasionally. If you have that relationship like you do with Microsoft, I know, then they will not charge you for certain ancillary services and provide you whatever you need because you already pay them a boatload. You might have a similar relationship with EMC that I don't know of. So if you do, this becomes a route to get support as well, not just software. I think you need to go home and do this because this is really, really slow. 44 minutes, wow. Good to break it. Otherwise you have unfinished download. Pivotal, by the way, is a small company that created, what is it called? Pivotal Workstation, or Pivotal as a tool for managing projects. Or maybe I'll show you a quick demonstration of the tool. Very similar to Pivotal is this tool called Trello. Have you seen Trello, Trello before? You love Trello? Oh, nice. So similar to that, you have uh, Pivotal is a similar tool like Trello that will let you use. So it's pulling up Trello right now. If you haven't seen Trello, this is how it looks like. And what you can do is, create a welcome board. In that board, you basically have what is called Kanban, or Japanese method. Whatever, you can pronounce it differently, Kanban. If you know this thing, the concept of just-in-time manufacturing, or Kanban method, or Toyota production system techniques of manufacturing. You deploy it already in your company for your factory floor. The same concept get deployed in software development because, in a sense, what you have in a factory is you put raw materials in and a plane comes out. In a software factory, you put ideas in and software comes out. And to manage that flow of ideas through your software factory is what you need, is what Japanese call a Kanban, a Kanban. And this is a representation of a Kanban. So what you see is boards. And in very simple terms, there are three boards. It's very conceptually very simple thing. The three boards are to do, doing, and done. So you have everything in your to do, and you take one at a time and do them, put them in the doing board. And when you're done, you just move the item from this is a card and take it like this and move it to the doing item. And when you're done, you just move it to the other end. Like I'm done. That's the idea behind Kanban. And so that was the original software that started with Pivotal. Very similar. And Pivotal got acquired by EMC, and now they have open sourced the whole thing. And so Trello is not, but I think Pivotal is. Check, I'm not sure Pivotal is open source or not, but Go Pivotal, which is the entire division that the earlier VMware CEO, Paul Marids, is now heading up Pivotal at EMC. He used to be the CEO of VMware. And before that, he used to be at Microsoft. Hmm? No, I do not know. Spelling? No, I do not know. I will find out. I did not. I'll find out about that. I do not know. Isakwa. Huh. Interesting. Arun Kumar, I wrote lots of them. Lots of Arun Kumars. I don't know which one is this. I see. Hmm. Interesting. Nice. So we'll talk more about Kanban and manufacturing, how it applies to software development, lean processes, operations management, DevOps, starting next week. We'll have a book that you may have already read. The book is from Israeli professor, and the book is called The Goal. And it's a novel. It's a novel about operations management, and that is the book. I read this book long, long ago, and let me tell you, it is a fantastic book, but it's a boring read. It's such boring read that you will probably sleep 5 times before you finish the book. It, it is phenomenal book. I mean, I'm not kidding. I did not know, but if you ask Jeff Bezos, what are the top 3 books? It is one of them is this. It is actually a good book. But I remember my plight with, new in this country. This is the book I read, studying MBA coursework, studying operations management. This is my textbook. It took me 5 attempts to actually finish the book and understand it. And I love it. The book is actually very good. The whole thing is written like a novel. That's what's up. If it was a properly written textbook, I would have enjoyed it. But he writes like a story. And, of course, it is writing style. But whatever that is, it's a good book. Trust me. You can find out what Amazon CEO says. Don't take my word. And so the 3 books he wants his top execs to read, they are Peter Drucker, Effective Executive, Clayton Christensen, Innovator's Solution, and The Goal. Even though I think it is boring, I find it really, really useful. It's boring to read. Just my perspective. Don't take too much into it. I think it's a very good book. Trust me. Yes, yes, yes. That is exactly what it is. These 3 books I would strongly recommend you read, but we will use the 3rd book here. For the context we have is DevOps, and that's the origins of the theoretical origins of the concepts of operations management. How do you make sense of it, and where does it take us in the aspect of software and aspect of services delivery, and how it applies to not just manufacturing, not just Boeing and Ford and GM and Chrysler and Toyota, but also to software development and to you and me. We'll discuss that sometime next week as we begin. This is just a precursor, and trust me, it is a good book. Here is an endorsement. from the guy who just invested $2 billion in India. This guy did, Jeff Bezos. He was just in Bangalore last week, dressed up in Indian dress, and said, I see no, what did he say? I see no impediment to growth in India with Amazon.in. And that is amazing. Just like Amazon is now in India. Amazon.com now in India with everything you would expect, including, guess what? Return. You know, the concept of return is so foreign to me. When I first came to this country, is you buy something, you can actually take it back to the store. It was never digestible. I never knew it, that there is such a thing. But this country, people take it for granted. I did not. And so, that's Zappos. Zappos. Yes, you can do it on Amazon also, but Zappos actually advertises themselves like this. You buy 2 pairs, return the one you don't want. It's on the front page. Zappos is a company that got acquired by Amazon, but they kept a separate brand. It's the biggest shoe store on the planet Earth today. It is a fabulous business. And the value proposition of that company is we take pride in being a little bit weird. And I think they have a point. Because I think that is their truth. That's how everybody is. A little bit weird. Not offensive weird, but a little bit different. That's what they mean to say. They do, apparently. They're profitable. So Tony Wong, who's the CEO, calls out that we hire people who are a little bit, and he uses the word weird. And I think he has a point. What he basically says is that I want personalities to show, and I want people to have fun. And if it's a little bit weird in like wearing a pink cap in the workplace, that's okay. That's what he's saying. But I think he has a point. I admire him. He's a good person. Tony, read Zappos. They have customer videos. That's so funny. They actually make business sense. Total business sense, not funny like cat videos, but actually make business sense. And that's how they're selling. That's how they're making money. That's the reason they got acquired. It's through customer obsession. If customer obsession is a value that Amazon puts their money on. Hmm. So Tony Shea, not Tony Wong. Sorry, correct. Thank you for correcting me. Tony Shea, that's his name. Yeah, and he takes pride in that. And he says, I'm also a little bit weird. And he has a 2 billion company on shoes. But he has a point. He's not weird like you would expect the word weird to mean, but he has a different meaning to it. Good weird. I like that weird. Yeah. Yeah. But I think, yeah, yeah. Right. And it's not just the suit and tie that you find on the East Coast, buttoned up suit and tie and stiff lips and all that. That I find it weird, honestly. More human, more natural is the right kind of weird. Yeah, just be natural. Just be what you are and speak your mind. That's more real, more appropriate. Oh, that's also a good book. Phyllis Project is a good book on DevOps, right? I know that's also a very big fact, big, thick, boring book also. Yeah, this book is small. The whole book is small, but it's like a novel. So you may not enjoy it like I did not. But it's not about enjoyment. It's a school textbook. You better read it. Yeah, give this a good one. I think this there is also an audio book available. So go to public library. And the good part is in this now we have actors and with the various accents. So there is an Israeli person in the book, and he will produce an Israeli accent, and the audio book will actually be funny. You might enjoy that audio book if you have phone, like iPhone or whatever phone, you can download an app called Overdrive. It is free app, and it connects to your public library. So whichever public library, King County Library or wherever, go reserve that, and you can have this book for free. Yeah, you can get the book free on your library. You can download it and listen to it as you do whatever you want, and it's a good, interesting listen. It's not a good read; it's a good listen. It's actually funnily eloquated, spoken out very nicely. And so,
That's how I like the approach, and like the spoken by all those books.
so here is the app coming up, Overdrive app. Go to your King County Library or whatever county library you have. I think most of your King, and so that library has it. This is the app, and you install it on your phones, and you're done. So from for the next time, I think I would suggest that you please open an account with Azure and set up on a Windows box, which I'll have to find one more because I gave it to him. I'll see if I can get one Windows box or maybe use this box as Windows or something. But set up Visual Studio and let's understand what Azure can do for us. It is not Windows Azure anymore. It is just Azure. They debranded Windows.
So you can set up
Set up set up Windows if you have, or you have a box in your home already. Bring that over, or figure something out. You still have it.